A group known as Predator Poachers confront a man over disturbing allegations involving inappropriate activity with an alleged minor. After confessing to crimes involving a child he thought was only 12 years old, cops are called and they arrive on the scene.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I see you in your pajamas?
See me in pajamas?
Yeah.
What do you use Telegram for?
I talk to people.
Is other girls my age on here?
Just you and maybe one or two others.
Yeah, I heard there's girls my age on here.
Yeah?
I heard there's like groups and stuff.
I don't trust them.
Why?
Too easy to get somebody in trouble. Like talking to you. I'm 50. You're 12.
I
I
won't.
can get in trouble just for talking to you.
And you said there was child on your phone, but you got rid of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So people have sent videos in these groups you were in from anything from like 0 to 17, and it's pretty gross, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Moments later, the accused disappears before a gunshot rings out, and authorities find him with a self-inflicted fatal gunshot wound to the head. Shortly after the incident, the Predator Poachers crew are arrested and placed in handcuffs. So just what exactly happened? Did this predator sting go horribly wrong, resulting in the death of an innocent man? Or did the trash quite simply take itself out? These are the questions people are asking about the situation, and I'll be discussing them with Alex Rosen himself, the very man who led the confrontation, to find out exactly what went down.
Ironically, it was called Hanson County, and that's where the predator's no longer with us. But the deputy had the admission, had a probable cause to at least detain him, no doubt about that. I don't know why the cop turned his back on him, but then again, we should have done a better job of not having the interview by the door. Like, we're gonna try to never do that again.
I'm Mr. Black, and this is Recently Criminal. Last week in Canova, South Dakota, 60-year-old Donald Letcher was at home when Alex Rosen and his predator hunter group known as the Predator Poachers showed up at the man's front door to question him about allegations stemming from child abuse. Now, I want to be clear up front. The crew did not show up with pitchforks and force their way into Donald Letcher's home. They didn't arrive with a megaphone and shout his walls down, and they certainly didn't threaten him in any way. As a matter of fact, like all predator poacher stings that I've seen, they were nice and even polite with a man they allege is a pedophile.
Okay, so this Ariel chick, this is one of those, said younger ladies under 18 that hit you up. What do they kind of try to talk to you about on there?
Well, basically, we just started talking, and then they started asking questions. Not age-appropriate questions.
Really? They just kind of talked inappropriately and stuff. Okay. So how do you kind of respond when they ask inappropriate stuff?
I mean, because there's some days I sit here and I have a couple drinks, and if they start talking like that, it might lead to one thing.
Oh, okay. So they kind of get you at the wrong time sometimes, and maybe you say something back. Okay. Yeah. What are some of the stuff that they got you to say when you were drunk, or maybe had a couple drinks, stuff like that?
Well, if I said something inappropriate, I was probably pretty drunk and I don't remember it.
Well, have there been times that you got sober and then you realized, like, holy cow, I just said something I probably shouldn't have said, and just kind
The
of...
next morning, I'm like, geez, I shouldn't even talk to that girl.
Yeah. I don't know, you don't remember everything and everything. I'm not going to be unfair to you and ask you some crazy stuff that you wouldn't know. Did Ariel ever talk about that?
I couldn't take it. I don't remember. I remember her, but I don't remember a lot of the conversation.
How old was she?
I don't know.
What do you think she said?
I don't remember.
Did she say something like, I'm 8 years old?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
What do you think it could have been?
I don't know. I have no idea. Like I said, I don't remember.
They can't run around and assault these people because that's like handing them a get-out-of-jail-free card. It might be fun to pummel someone you believe has intentions to harm children, but that doesn't help when it comes to getting convictions by the law. And Alex Rosen and the Predator Poachers have countless convictions thanks to the way they operate. In fact, they have convictions in 46 states. Now, that speaks volumes for how well they do their jobs and cooperate with law enforcement. And if the sting in question involving Donald Letcher had gone to plan, Predator Poachers might have been able to mark their conviction tally by state up to 47, but as I mentioned, things didn't go to plan, and we're about to get into that. So what exactly is Donald Letcher alleged to have done? Well, he admitted on video to having conversations with what he thought was a 12-year-old girl and even requested nude pictures from her. Well, I say requested, it was more like demanded, and I can show you proof of that later, but that wasn't all. Donald also admitted to being in various groups across Telegram and Facebook that ended up with him receiving child pornography involving kids as young as infants. And I'm not just talking about one. This is something that would be very hard to argue as accidental, channel because we're talking about multiple instances. And in these videos that Donald claims he watched, he tells Alex that he sees girls around the age of 12 being violated by unknown people. He also says the assailants he witnessed committing these acts were both male and female, and he isn't sure whether any of the victims were relatives or abducted. And to make matters worse, Donald also described kids as young as infants being forced into acts that I can't even describe on YouTube. I mean, these infants, Donald said, were held in place by force at the hands of their assailants so they couldn't get away. He even described some of the children he saw screaming in the videos. It's disgusting and heartbreaking. And I'm not saying alleged here because we have the video of Donald confessing. This is not something that we can just say, maybe it happened or he was alleged to have said. No, he said it. It's here on video. Now remember, we'd have no idea that any of this stuff happened or that Donald Letcher was watching any of it if it wasn't for Alex and the Predator Poachers. And the fact that this type of material is even out there should be a stark warning to parents everywhere to be alert and on guard for the safety of your children. Remember, the decoy that Donald was texting and talking to, he believed she was 12 and he was demanding nudes, not asking or requesting actually. He was demanding them. We're actually going to play a piece of that call for you in a minute and show you some text messages. But first, I want to talk about some of the criticism that Alex has received because Donald Letcher took his own life before he got arrested. People have mostly praised Alex for his work on this case, but some ex-users have spoken out criticizing him for bullying a man into taking his life. Here's what some had to say. They lure with fake chats and often turn the talk dirty first. It's just for show. They are just as much perverts as the guys they catch. That's certainly an odd take. But at least this user acknowledges that Alex catches people whose sexual behavior is deemed unacceptable. After all, that's the definition of a pervert. But how they apply that logic to the Predator Poachers is beyond me. Another user said, "Imagine forcing people into unaliving themselves. I hope you get charged, you effing idiots. Everyone has the right to life no matter what he did." First of all, they didn't force anyone into anything. The full video of the incident is proof of that, but I'm assuming most of these people didn't watch it. And Donald Letcher might have very well had the right to life, but he took it himself by his own hands just before he was likely going to be arrested for having indecent images of children as young as infants and demanding nudes from someone he thought was 12. Another user writes, "You will be all the money you can get." I'm assuming they meant you will need all the money you can get when his family sues you for setting him up with a fake person and making him unalive himself, even though he's a scumbag perv. Better view Megan's Law. What exactly does Megan's Law have to do with it? I mean, Megan's Law is simply legislation that requires law enforcement to publicly divulge information about sex offenders to the community. And it's certainly not relative to Donald Letcher because he doesn't exist anymore, and that's down to a choice he made, likely hoping to avoid consequences of his actions. One more user said Alex should be arrested, and another said, "No one likes pedos. However, adults understand that in this country, people aren't supposed to act as judge, jury, and executioner." I mean, these takes are utterly ridiculous. No one played executioner except for Donald Letcher himself. And at no point was anyone anything other than kind and mannerly to Donald. No one suggested he take his life into his own hands, and no one threatened him.
How's it going, sir? We're just having a conversation here. Basically, you're not gonna. Basically, there's just some idiots that kind of found you online that started sending you these crazy fucking videos, right? And you mentioned that these idiots were even sending you like videos of babies being molested, all this stupid shit you didn't want, right? And you said there was child on your phone, but you got rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's the phone you have now, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so people have sent videos in these groups you were in from anything from like 0 to 17, and it's pretty gross, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was on the app Telegram?
Yep.
Okay. And you were online there today, right? Telegram? Okay.
Okay. All right. So, how long ago does this all take place?
2 months.
Few months. Okay. And then when did you get rid of these videos or photos, wherever they were sending you?
Well, if it was in the group, I got rid of them right away.
Yeah.
But he said according to my phone there was some saved, and I woke up the next day because I had a few drinks, and then I deleted them.
You said you deleted like 40 child videos off your phone. Okay. And it was like 12-year-old girls basically having. Okay. And, well, the thing is, if you could describe videos that were in the group, it kind of means you watched them and stayed in there. Like I told you that there was, a lot that you watched, sure as you know. And
Yeah.
yeah, so.
And then, who are you with?
It's a group called Predator Poachers.
Okay. Where are you?
Houston, Texas.
Houston,
Yes,
Texas.
sir. That's where I'm from.
Okay. All right. Do you have any idea?
It's in the car.
Okay. You mind grabbing that?
Sure.
For a second.
May I talk to you over there for a sec, officer?
Yeah. Well, you just stay outside for me, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so,
If anything, my question is why the police didn't detain Donald immediately and put him in handcuffs the moment he admitted to having CP. Instead, they asked him to remain put and then turned their backs on him for an extended period of time, which is when he disappeared inside and the shot rang out. So are the cops responsible too? I don't think so. I think Donald was the man responsible for the death that day, and he's the only person to blame. He confessed in front of law enforcement on video to a crime that, in his state, by law, is punishable of up to 10 years in prison and a $20,000 fine. It's not as if the cops rolled up and found a man dead surrounding by a bunch of guys that were like, I don't know. No, law enforcement were called by the Predator Poachers. They arrived and everything was fine up to that point. They gave Donald an order to remain where he was at. Then they turned their backs, he disobeyed their commands, and what happened, happened. There was zero bullying in this catch. As a matter of fact, Alex played good cop so well with Donald that at one point, they even talked about cats, Donald's 2 dogs, and good local places to eat. Multiple times during the video, Alex tells Donald Letcher that he doesn't think he's a bad guy and that he believes he's just been pulled into something bad. Obviously, he doesn't feel that way himself, but Alex goes out of his way to make Donald Letcher feel comfortable so he doesn't put the accused under duress, which would potentially hinder a conviction. He's also nice and polite in order to establish a rapport that makes it more likely that Donald will continue to talk. How anyone could argue that Alex caused this man to take his own life is absurd. If Donald had turned out to be an innocent man and Alex coerced or threatened him, there might be a point to the claim. But as it stands, with what I saw this man admit to on camera, claiming that Alex Rosen caused his death or bullied him in any way looks an awful lot like defending a potential child abuser. And we're not done. Hang with me. There's much more. But please get your facts straight and remember that a man who admitted to heinous things involving children is no longer walking the streets because it looks like the trash took itself out. It's my strong opinion that the Predator Poachers did not cause his death. It appears as though Donald Letcher caused his own death, probably because he was about to get arrested, and that arrest, I speculate, would have brought up questions about his past and a crime he was already exonerated of. So we should probably take a look at that before we wave around a flag that basically says Alex Rosen is a murderer. Oh, and by the way, while they were detained and put in handcuffs, the Predator Poachers crew was released shortly after questioning, and no charges were brought to them. But before we talk about Donald Letcher's sketchy past, thanks to an exclusive from the Predator Poachers, here's 60-year-old Donald video calling a girl he thought was 12, where he tells her she's beautiful, admits that he could get in trouble for talking to her, and even lies about his age, claiming to be 50. Now, why on earth would a 60-year-old man want to be talking to a stranger 12-year-old little girl behind her parents' back and make himself seem younger? You tell me. Here's the clip.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I see you in your pajamas?
See me in pajamas?
Yeah.
It's just my shirt and my shorts.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Wait. I'm in my blanket.
Well, I understand that.
There.
You have pretty eyes.
Thank you.
You're a very pretty young lady.
Thank you.
So you're 12?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think you're a good-looking young lady.
Thank you. What do you use Telegram for?
I talk to people.
Is other girls my age on here?
Just you and maybe 1 or 2 others.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard there's girls my age on here.
Yeah.
I heard there's like groups and stuff.
I don't trust them.
Why?
Too easy to get somebody in trouble.
What do you mean? Why would you get in trouble?
Like talking to you.
I won't get you in trouble.
I'm 50. You're 12.
I won't.
get in trouble just for talking to you.
It's okay. I won't get you in trouble.
Well,
Why can you get in trouble from the groups though?
because some of them share pretty bad photos.
Really? Like what?
Yeah. I believe some of them share photos of kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I won't get you in trouble. My mom doesn't even know I have Facebook.
Okay.
It was after this video call ended that Donald sent the decoy a text message demanding she send him nudes in order for him to be able to trust her. When the decoy refuses because she doesn't want her pictures to end up online, Donald says he's disappointed and would never share them because he wants the pictures all to himself and calls her his queen. This is clearly the mark of a predator. Thank God it was a fake kid. Can you imagine if he found a real child? The idea that Letcher somehow was set up to do something he never would have done if he wasn't lured by the Predator Poachers is preposterous. There is is no situation in which a 12-year-old contacts me to talk dirty that I don't immediately report the profile and block it. It's quite simple. Normal adults don't chat dirty to minors. They don't ask them for nude photos, and they don't call and talk to them when their parents aren't looking. Predators do that. As the father of 2 sons, one being 2.5 years old, and being a son myself of a mother who went through sexual abuse, and even dealing with it myself at the hands of a babysitter, I just can't understand the people that believe this whole topic is overhyped and mass paranoia. There are individuals who act like sexual abuse is uncommon and rare, hyped up by guys like Alex and the media. So I want to give you some statistics to think about. 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. That's from the Advocacy Center. There are more than 42 million survivors of sexual abuse in the United States. That's from National Association of Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. More than 90% of sexual abuse is committed by someone the victim knows, loves, or trusts. That's from the U.S. Department of Justice. The FBI estimates that there's a sex offender living in every square mile of the U.S. That's from the National Sex Offender Registry. 1 in 5 children are solicited to sexually while on the internet before the age of 18. That's National Children's Alliance nationwide child abuse statistics. A typical pedophile will commit 117 sexual crimes in a lifetime. That's also from the National Sex Offender Registry. And then the last one, there are nearly 500,000 registered sex offenders in the US, and 80 to 100,000 of them are missing. That's from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. People, this is not paranoia. These are factual statistics, and this topic should be a concern for every parent in the country. Predator Poachers highlights this problem for us all to see and actually set out to do something about it. Now, just before we bring Alex Rosen from the Predator Poachers onto the show, we simply must talk about Donald Letcher's previous conviction that he was exonerated from, and I wonder what that had to do with. Well, according to the National Registry of Exonerations, a website that boasts of 3,565 exonerations since 1989, 31-year-old Donald Letcher was charged with 2 counts of molesting the 9-year-old daughter of his then-girlfriend in Bridgewater, South Dakota. This was in March of 1995 when the little girl reported to police that Letcher had been living with her and her mother between August of 1992 and July of 1993. It was during this time that the 9-year-old girl claimed Donald forced her to touch him almost every night while her mother worked a night shift job. On the morning of his trial, the little girl's mother was called to testify as it was alleged that Donald struggled with erectile dysfunction when it came to having sexual relations with her, and I guess the prosecution wanted to have the case thrown out on the basis of that, which is preposterous because if you're attracted to children and not adults, one might anticipate a result like that. Luckily, the court wasn't buying it and the motion was denied. The young girl was also made to testify where she described in detail the abuse alleged to have happened, which started when she was just 8 years old. Letcher, of course, denied the allegations with counterclaims that he believed the little girl was coached to say these things. The defense then called clinical psychologists to the stand with expertise in sexual abuse matters, and he claimed he believed the little girl's story never happened. He noted that her sexual terminology wasn't typically used by children, and the fact that the girl testified that Letcher never completed just didn't add up to him. Which, if he had erectile dysfunction with the mother, and he still had it with a kid even though he might have been attracted to her, that makes sense, at least to me anyway. I don't know how they could use that to argue anything. Later, the defense asked to call Letcher's former girlfriend to the stand for testimony to negate the idea of Letcher's sexual dysfunction, but thankfully, the judge denied it, and then in June of 1995, Letcher was convicted on 2 counts of sexual contact with a minor. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Sadly, only a year later, in July of 1996, the South Dakota Supreme Court reversed the conviction, noting credibility of witnesses as one reason, and the fact that the judge refused to let Letcher's former girlfriend testify as another. A month later, in August of 1996, the prosecution dismissed all charges, and Letcher was released from prison without a mark on his record. Now, isn't that a coincidence? 30 years later, this man that was exonerated for abusing a 9-year-old girl is caught being sexual with what he thought was a 12-year-old. Then he goes on to admit to watching CP of all ages right down to infants. Don't you find that odd? I do. You know, I was about a year older than the alleged victim at the time, and I wish I could have a conversation with her now about this monster, because I, for one, completely believe what she says happened to her, and I'd bet any money she wasn't the only one. Now, that's just my opinion, but that's not all we know about Donald Letcher and his history with children, hurting them and getting off light. According to various sources, In Epiphany, South Dakota, a 58-year-old Donald Letcher, this is just 2 years ago, pleaded guilty to the hit and run of a 6-year-old girl while he was drunk. So what exactly happened? Where was this little girl? Was she on a bike and he didn't see her, or did she run out in the middle of the road? Well, no. She was actually playing with a kitten in her own driveway when he pulled onto it on private property and ran her over. A witness followed him to his home, and when authorities arrived 20 minutes after the incident, Donald's breath is reported to have been nearly 3 times over the legal limit. That should have been enough to put him away for a long time, right? Well, nope. It might have even looked like a first offense due to his previous exoneration. Either way, Donald Letcher was sentenced to just 25 days in jail, a 30-day license suspension, and 2 years of probation. Which means he was likely still on probation for hurting a child when the cops and predator poachers arrived at his house and he admitted to having CP on his devices right before he unalived himself. I fail to find the part of this where I'm ever supposed to feel sorry for Donald Letcher. It's in my opinion, and mine only, that Donald Letcher knew what was coming. I believe he knew possibly more than we may ever know. He was in that house for quite a long time, refusing to re-answer to cops before the gunshot rang out. God only knows what he was doing in there. If I had to guess, I'd guess quite a lot of stuff got deleted, but that's just a guess. But please tell me, how can anyone defend a man who might still be attempting to harm children had the predator poachers not shown up at his house? Donald Letcher chose to exit this life on his own accord. He can no longer hurt kids. Case closed. Unless, of course, other potential victims come forward and speak out. But regardless, who is going to sympathize with Donald? Well, I'll tell you who's 100% not going to. The head of Predator Poachers and the man who confronted Donald Letcher moments before the incident that we've been discussing, Alex Rosen. Now, I want to get things clear from the start. I don't care about your politics or your previous predator catching tactics from when you were a teenager. I care about the absolutely stunning and honorable job you do now, where you make sure these guys get nabbed with conviction after conviction after conviction. I've seen you catch people multiple times, possibly even twice, the same person and twice in one day. I've seen you sting men, women, 30-year-olds, elderly people, teachers, Trump supporters, Biden supporters, black people, white people, right-wing preachers, and even the leader of a LGBTQIA Democrat organization. You clearly hunt these people down without prejudice and deliver them to the law in such a professional manner that I often see police thanking you for your help with a handshake. All of this and many of the full and uncensored stings you can find on the Predator Poachers Rumble channel, and you can subscribe to Alex's Twitter at iFightForKids. Alex, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm quite impressed by the jobs that you do. As you probably know, this is our 3rd time working together, but it's our 1st time meeting properly like this, so it's quite exciting for me to meet a guy who's had so many convictions over these people. Now, how many total convictions do you guys have you helped secure with the Predator Poachers?
Well, we have arrests in 46 states.
46, okay.
Yes, if Donald was able to pull through, it would have been 47, but yeah, it doesn't count, I guess. And we have convictions in 40 states. I'd guess the amount of convictions we have is somewhere between 100 and 200. I'm not too sure, but I mean, shoot, if we have, I know there's states we have like probably 5 convictions in. So I don't know if it averages out at like 3 a state that we have a conviction, and that'd be like 120. So I don't know. I just know it's over 100, but probably below 200.
And I know as well that you guys often keep up with these convictions too, and you post them on your Twitter and other places. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you have a team on, or you do yourself to keep up with these things, or you just try to keep up with as many as you can, or?
Oh man, it's like a combination. So whichever one of us can kind of figure it out, we just notice it, post it, or detectives keep me updated. But we have a guy on our locals named Adam, and he just, I didn't ask him to do it, but he just kind of keeps up with all of our guys. So most recently, on July 18th, Caden Sickler, who we caught in Grand Island, Nebraska. So if you want to find that video, just type in Predator Poachers Grand Island on Rumble, and he's the guy. Well, both of them got convicted in Grand Island that we caught, but he's the one with the slick back hair. He got a 3 to 7 year sentence for child pornography. He had 40,000 images of child porn, but he only got 3 to 7 years because, America. And he can get out in 1.5 years with good behavior, which he no doubt is probably going to have good behavior.
That's the thing. That's just the thing that I can't understand so much about our legal system is often a guy can go in for something as simple as tax evasion, which is really just money, at the end of the day. It's just money that's taken from you. But if you go in for hurting a kid, which wrecks them for life, you can get out in no time, like sometimes within months. I find that pathetic, you know? Are there many stings that you don't see convictions for?
Well, so kind of averaging it out, I think half of them, or maybe a little bit over half, end up getting arrested. And we haven't had it. Well, I should say there's a few that get arrested and it ends up getting thrown out before it even goes to court because the DA's like, oh, civilians, I don't want to take this. But the majority that everyone that's actually gone through court, with the exception of, I think, one, which was thrown out because we're civilians, not because of any evidence thing, ends up getting convicted or still in the court process. So I'd say it's probably going to end up being like 50-50. But yeah, I mean, there's some jurisdictions that just don't even want to touch it because we're civilians. Like Dallas County, for example, we had a guy that we caught in Garland, Texas in October of 2023. He showed the child porn on his phone to the cops. The cops seize the phone, and then they get a call from their supervisor saying, give him the phone back. They give him the phone back. Nothing happens after that. Ridiculous. So that's what we're working with in some parts of the country.
And you, I'm assuming you have this on video, this happening.
Yes.
Like not the picture, but the incident.
Yes. If you just go to you just type in Predator Poachers Garland on Rumble, it's there.
Oh my God. It's insane to me that happens. I mean, like, if you're, in my opinion, if you're walking around with that kind of material on your phone, that's it. It should be game over. Lights out. You're arrested. You're thrown in the back of the cop car, and you wait for your day in court. I mean, this is what I don't understand about what happened with Donald Letcher. They arrived. He admitted on camera what he did, and he was still allowed to leave. They just said, just stand right there for me, would you? You gave him every opportunity to go back in his house and do whatever he needed to do. I mean, imagine he came out with that gun and his intent was not to take his own life, but somebody else's. We'd be having a different conversation, or possibly not be having a conversation at all.
Oh, 100%. I mean, to be fair, it was obviously a new situation for that deputy. I mean, ironically, it was called Hanson County, and that's where the Predator's no longer with us. But the deputy had the admission, had a probable cause to at least detain him. No doubt about that. Yep. But I don't know why you keep a suspect by the door, especially when it's something like CP. It's not like you caught him with some weed or something and they're going to go like run and blow their brains out. Nobody's going to do that over weed. But I mean, there's so much, it's more than just a charge attached when it comes to sex crimes against children. It's a whole stigma, and a lot of people don't want to live with that. And yeah, I don't know why the cop turned his back on him. But then again, we should have done a better job not having the interview by the door. Like, we're going to try to never do that again.
Yeah, well, that's a fair assessment, and that's what I like about you, Alex, is that over the years you've just gotten better and better and more professional. As I said before, I don't care about any of the jokes or words or politics, none of that stuff. What I care is that you get these guys off the street, or you at least get them tagged with a arrest or a conviction. Conviction's great too, you know, because a lot of the times you can see that person on a sex offenders registry, which at least then people moving into a neighborhood should be able to go on and see who's around them, you know? So there's at least that. Now, I mean, yeah, if it's up to me, I think the law should be stricter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when they get these slaps on the wrist, I just call it the conveyor belt to life. Because their first time, nothing's going to happen to them. They're going to get tagged on the registry. And, some jurisdictions, they're going to just, totally screw them the first time, which is great. But a lot of times they're going to get, the little sex offender slap on the wrist, couple months in prison, and then they're going to move on. The next time they do it, they might get a couple of years. And the next time it's going to be 10 years. And the next time they're going to get life. So we're just that first cog in the machine for them.
The life sentence is really on the victim, isn't it? Because you never recover from that. But what you guys do is you guys almost amplify something similar to a sex offenders registry, because you put them on blast. And I know you get a lot of criticism for that, but I think it's great. I mean, look at David Dunn. You guys did all the work on David Dunn, but I got to team up with you guys, commentate on the video, and release my version of it. And then the daughter reached out to us, which was just fantastic. She was able to come forward and say, hey, I've been hurt by this guy as well. I'm glad we're seeing what he's doing. This maybe gives me the courage to speak out. I mean, things like that are just amazing. And that's really what it's about. It's not about just, you're putting these guys on blast that you happen to corner and get them to, dude, how can you corner somebody? How can you corner somebody into wanting to sleep with a minor? That makes no sense to me. There's no chat that could pop up on my screen. Desperate, lonely, antisocial, it's no excuse. There's no chat that could pop up on my screen. There's no woman that tells me she's 13 that could make me turn on that. There's no excuse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, with that logic of, oh, but they were cornered into doing it. Okay, so if we catch a guy going after a little girl, if we were posing as an adult male and he was lonely and we're just like, come on, bro, even if we were like, come on, bro, we really want to do stuff with you, a guy's not going to just turn gay and just be like, all right, fine, just this one time. No, it's because they're wired that way and they are that way. They have those tendencies.
The right decision is block.
Yes.
That's the right decision. It's called block. So I don't understand why other people can't do the same when it comes to a pop-up and you're, Dominic Barbagallo or David Dunn, or if you've got a Discord and you're some other famous creator,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't understand that. I just stay away from minors. It's quite simple. But the next question I have for you, Alex, is you travel all over the states. I see you in all over the place. I mean, I was about to go to Arkansas last month, and we almost got a chance to meet up. We're trying to organize a little ride-along. I'd love to go with you to one of these and film and be a part of it. But even yesterday, which was a Saturday, when I contacted you about a time for the interview, you couldn't do it because you were on another sting. Just after what happened with Letcher, you were on another sting. So how many of these do you actually do a month?
Well, I think it averages to about probably 20 or a little bit over 20 a month. I'm truly addicted to doing this. I just like playing that mental chess match with them, getting them to admit to stuff and just knowing that a real POS is going to jail. That's a great feeling. And I'm glad I'm addicted to it. It's not like I'm addicted to ice cream anymore or anything like that. It's just actually addicted to something good. So, and it's a very fulfilling thing. Like, we like the difference that we're making and we like the shockwaves that come from this. Like, David Dunn's daughter, for example, like you were bringing up, she just thought that her whole story was just buried under everything, that it was just never going to come to light. But, due to David confessing and just kind of burying himself, now it is, and I'm glad that we could be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, you can't say that doesn't make a difference. And I understand what you're saying about the chess match as well, because you're really using these interrogation tactics that you see in true crime interrogation videos. I mean, it's fantastic. You establish a rapport. You try to keep the suspect away from duress. It's amazing. Like, you do such a good job. You do better job than some of the detectives, actually, because you get these guys to admit, and they often know the camera's there too, or that you're recording. I mean, it's pretty obvious, and you've got people waiting in a car. I mean, you've got the chat logs in your hands. You're like a little Predator whisperer.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was just my calling or whatever. I mean, my dad's like a salesman, so maybe I have some of that passed down to me. Maybe I can sound convincing to them. But I think a big part is, one, I'm very thick-skinned. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watching have just seen clips of me saying very offensive things. Well, yeah, I do say those, and I don't care when they're said to me. I just don't care about words. So when I hear the Predator say, the Predator yesterday, for example, Paul Leverett in Trinity, Texas, he's currently in jail for online solicitation of a minor and very soon child pornography when they dump his phone. I mean, but he was watching videos young as babies, just like a lot of these idiots do. And when he's just saying all this, describing it, it's not making me feel a certain type of way. Like, I'm able to just disassociate from what he's saying. It's just words to me, because if they're saying it, that means I'm doing a good job. So that makes me want to keep going, keep digging, and boom, now a pedo's off the street. And, another thing too, I always want to try to get better at what we do. Like, I listen to all criticism. Doesn't mean I take all of it, but I always consider it. And every time I have a chance to talk to a detective, pick their brain a little bit, I do. Like, there's two detectives that I talk to kind of regularly. And, I ask them, hey, what would you say here? I got kind of backed up with this, or what would you say here? And a lot of my lines are from me asking detectives, like, hey, when a Predator says this, it kind of locks me up. What would you do here? And you got to listen to it. And some of the lines too, from just commenters who have never caught a Predator before. Like, I notice there's like other groups or whatever, when somebody comments a recommendation, the answer is like, well, how many pedos have you caught? And of course I think that too. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy to tell me this? But you got to move past that and realize, okay, is the advice good or not, no matter who the messenger is? And you got to consider what everybody's saying, and take what's good, drop what's bad. And I think just willing to lower myself, that I'm not and I always got to get better, helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible because you almost play a character. You're like you play this character that's kind of big, dumb, and gentle.
Yes.
Hey, man, I understand. I'm here to help. Hey, oh, man, it's not you. It's not these crazy people online. I love that. Like, the fact that these guys fall for that is just amazing. And I understand why you would get a kick out of it. And it's not because, ooh, I'm hearing these juicy details. It's because it's like, there's another one. There's another one down. He's just admitted it. There's another one. I was right. Say what you want, critics, but this is where it matters. And that's where it matters. Now, you're intelligent. You're great at what you do. You do it a lot. But do you ever experience any burnout or exhaustion?
I get exhausted not doing anything. We're sitting at home for like a week. I'm like, what's going on? What am I doing with my life right now? Like, I got to do something. I could do this 30 days a month if I wanted to. And, I do like spending family time though. But man, it is truly the best thing in the world to me to go catch pedos.
Yeah, and look, and you do it with a team too. I actually want to talk about your decoys. How long might one of your decoys, and obviously I'm sure people know a decoy is someone who poses as a minor to lure these individuals in to doing the things that they likely already wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like what they wanted just fell in their lap. So how long might one of these decoys actually speak to one of these guys before the crew decides to confront them?
Well, I'll say first, our decoys are the best decoys anybody could ever ask for. They make what y'all see on camera a lot easier. If it wasn't for them, I mean, we wouldn't be shit. They are the backbone of what we do, and they deserve all the recognition in the world for it. So, God, I mean, some of them could talk to a guy for over a year, and I don't have that type of patience. But
year.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So Stephen DeMart, this Buffalo elementary school teacher we caught, one of our decoys was talking to him for over a year, all for him to be charged with a misdemeanor. That's all we could get out of him because he was very careful in the chats, but she stayed with it. And she ended up finding out who he was too, even though he was trying to stay anonymous. She did a tremendous job, and a lot of our decoys very careful, pay very good attention to detail, which I don't do all the time. But yeah, Steven ended up sending a dick pic a year after talking to us, and that's enough to get him charged with a misdemeanor in New York. And we just went for it because he was teaching elementary school kids, and he told us in person that he's viewed child pornography, but he's not as deep into it as the other people we catch are. So it was just more viewing rather than like saving and collecting. But yeah, at least he's not around kids anymore, and he's gonna have a slap on the wrist. But
totally. I mean, look, and even if that guy didn't get a conviction, but you got that proof and that evidence and confession, and you put that out there, and people saw it, and he got away from being around kids, that's success to me.
In that case,
success.
I agree. Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had quite a few of those things. When it comes to the guys, the predators that the decoys would be talking to, how I wonder because I think about your decoys and I'm how many do they have? I mean, you have decoys must be talking to multiple guys or multiple girls at once. Whoever the predator is, whatever gender, they must be talking to multiple at once.
Yeah, I call what we do factory farming pedophiles. I think.
Wow.
I think we're probably talking to over 100 right now between. I think 6 or 7 decoys.
6 or 7 are talking to over 100.
Yeah.
How the hell would they make like a board to keep the details straight, or they just go by the history in the chat?
Well, we kind of pick regions of the country we're going to go to next. So we just did a West Coast trip, even though it ended in South Dakota. So we kind of like go from Texas to New Mexico, up the coast through California, then kind of go back around. Go down South Dakota, go back down to Houston. But yeah, we kind of choose regions of the country. So when I say we're talking to over 100 people, that doesn't mean like there's 100 pages of chats with 100 people, but there's 100 people in the DMs. We're fleetingly communicating with a lot of them, and we're focusing hard on like, less than that, but kind of people in one region of the country.
So kind of like casting out multiple lines to see what bites.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, some of these guys, as you say, some of it's fleeting and some of it would be more full on. So how demanding are some of these people when it comes to the decoys? Do they get pretty possessive at times?
Oh, absolutely. We run into a lot of roadblocks when they start asking for nude photos. And, we have pretty, goddamn it. I mean, obviously not illegal photos, but we have photos that are a little bit more than just the regular selfie to send, but not nude or anything. And we can't send nudes. And a lot of predators are, they seem to usually be okay with like, bikini photo or something like that. But some of them are just very demanding for nudes. Like Tony Letcher, for example, he didn't block, but he kind of stopped talking when we wouldn't send him nudes. Like his chats with the girl that we approached him about, send me a nude, send me a nude, send me a nude, send me a nude. And obviously we can't oblige by that. So I was thinking at that point, all right, he's not going to ask for a meetup for sex. He's not at that point in life right now. But if he's asking for nudes of a 12-year-old, the next logical thing is he has child pornography because he had a Telegram account. So we went to his house with the intention of getting him arrested for child pornography, and it seems like that would have happened.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you gave me unprecedented access to the video call itself. I appreciate that. Played it earlier. There should be no question on anyone's mind. I mean, what is a 60-year-old man doing calling what he thinks is a 12-year-old girl?
Yeah.
Lying about his age by 10 years as if it would matter.
Oh, yeah. When I listened to that, I was like, wait, did he say 50? I listened to it like 2 more times. I'm like, shameless, dude.
Look, Donald wasn't bullied. If anybody was being bullied, he was attempting to bully the 12-year-old girl that didn't exist.
Right.
I mean, that's bullying to me.
Hey.
Grooming is a form of bullying. It's one of the worst. I've often thought about these guys in the terms of how they may treat the decoy, because they think they're talking to a young kid. So why wouldn't they try to get demanding and possessive and controlling? I could see that happening very easy.
Very often.
And Alex, did you or your team do any kind of mental counseling when it comes to this stuff? Do you do any kind of decompression, or does the simple fact of seeing convictions and actually getting these guys to admit, does that just erase all that and boost it for you, boost your mentality?
Oh, it's a huge boost. But I mean, y'all got to think, I'm doing this with my best friends from high school. So, I mean, we're very comfortable with each other. Yeah, but no official counseling or anything. We have we all have great families, and great support systems, and I think the best audience in the world. I'm sure your audience is good, but I'm going to say Predator Poachers audience is the best, and anybody watching can join our audience too. You can be part of the best.
Yeah.
But
do any of these stings leave a larger stain on you than others? Are there ones that stick with you?
Dominic, for example, David Dunn. I mean, those two are very, very buried or very etched in my mind. Kevin Cook in Jewel, Iowa, he was actively molesting his daughter, and he spilled to us. If y'all just want to watch that video, it's Predator Poachers Jewel, Jewell. 2 Jewels, that's how you spell it in Iowa, or 2 L's. And yeah, that and Dominic are probably my 2 favorite catches, because those were active molestation situations. And we've caught a lot, and I'm sure we've stopped more of those as well that just don't admit to it. And we've caught a lot of people who have admitted to touching kids, but it wasn't an active situation. But those 2 were 2 active situations that could have happened tomorrow if we didn't step in today. So those 2 are definitely my favorite, I'd say.
Well, I mean, I think the Dominic Barbagallo situation really resonates with me because, as you and I have had conversation about this briefly, and I won't get heavily into it, but I had past abuse history with a babysitter when I was between the age of 2 and 3, and luckily for me, my mom, she must have just she had like an intuition. She went to work at Domino's one day and just had this feeling, because when she dropped me off, I was just screaming and roaring. It was only a 3rd or 4th time I think I stayed with that babysitter, but I was screaming and roaring. I remember reaching out to her, not wanting her to let me go, and I'd never been like that.
Right.
So my mom just took it upon herself in the middle of her shift to say, hey, I have to go get my son. Something doesn't feel right. And her boss, I think, was a mother as well, and said, hey, listen, Nancy, if you feel something's not right, go get your baby. But yeah, so the Dominic Barbagallo situation really resonated with me, because I was just like, I've experienced a little bit of this, so it was something that I actually gritted my teeth through watching.
He got very specific about the things he did, and I will say that definitely left one of my camera guys pretty shaken up, because he has relatives that gone through it. Luckily, the rest of us, very PG childhoods for the most part. But yeah, no, it definitely was rough on him for sure.
When exactly, how old were you, or what time period did you realize this was a path you wanted to pursue? I mean, were you a victim of this stuff yourself, or did you know somebody? Okay.
No, very, very, for me, a very PG childhood growing up. Like, no,
okay.
I mean, there's no criminals in my family at all. But yeah, I've always wanted to be a cop since I was a kid. Like, I always wanted to catch the bad guys or whatever. And when I was 19, I couldn't go be a cop. I was playing college football my first year of college. And I'm sure, as you heard me say in every video, But playing college football in first year, then we had 3 weeks off going into summer break from workouts, practice, anything. So I started getting into these videos online, and I've seen Chris Hansen in high school, just his shows or whatever, and I was thought, well, that's cool. But seeing it again this time around, it wasn't only Chris Hansen, but it was just regular people doing it, like Justin Payne, Canadian Creep Catchers, Pop Squad, Anxiety War. I was like, wait a minute, people are just do this? Like, the concept was completely alien to me of just non-TV shows or non-cops doing this. So seeing it go down, I was like, no, how easy is it? And it made a fake account on Grindr. 30 minutes later, we had a guy wanting to meet up with his 15-year-old boy for sex. And obviously my first catch was me just shouting at him in the parking lot, him driving off. But, from there it kind of got a little bit better, I'd say.
In your younger days, when you were roughly 18, you were criticized for your tactics when it came to catching these predators, but you've clearly evolved, as we've already said. You're not captaining the same ship anymore. Your rapport building and your ability to avoid a suspect being placed under duress is totally professional. You get them to confess on video, and often they almost seem surprised when you do this. And even more surprised when the cops show up, like the Dominic Barbagallo situation. He seemed so surprised, like he really thought you were his friend and that you were there to help him, and you weren't there to cause him any harm. You were just looking out for him, which is quite ironic if you ask me. But
right.
Do you get a buzz off of that part where these guys are just shocked that suddenly, oh, you called the cops? I mean, the way David Dunn looked back at the camera and said, he already said everything on camera. He'd already admitted to the cop on his body cam. Mm-hmm. And then you just looked at the cop and said, well, he's just admitted to having CP on his phone. And he looks back at the camera and goes, I did what? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Is that just their last leg and it's just denial? Is that what that is?
Yeah, because I think since a lot of them do get so comfortable with me that they're like, oh, hey man, I'm just here to vouch for you here. Right, you're going to delete that stuff? They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to delete it. And they feel like, oh, thank God, the situation's ending for me in a good way. But then they realize like what they just said. But as for like getting a buzz off that, actually not really. It's still hard to just backstab somebody. I mean, that's what we're doing. And, I don't feel guilty about it at all, but it's still hard to just like, it's still hard to be the one to like put the sword in their back when they're not looking. But somebody has to do it because these people are monsters and they've done it to tons of innocent people. So I'll happily do it, but it's not an easy feeling still, but I don't really care.
Well, yeah. Well, look, that's part of, you being human. Another part of you being human, if we take it back to the David Dunn case, was there was a moment in there, and there's very few moments nowadays where I see your character breaking. But there was a moment in there when your character broke, when David appeared to be deleting stuff off his phone, and you looked at him and you reached out and you tried to grab his phone. You said, I'll grab that effing phone. And then you went right back into character. Was that a genuine moment of frustration for you where you literally broke character and you were boiling?
Bro, I was about to like burst, dude. I was so pissed off and just sad because the cops were taking so long. And then, Agent Orange, he had to go sub in for me, to do the little Jesus talk with him.
But there's counseling resources online, Dave. There's actually free community programs that you could take advantage of.
I'll take the phone. I'm just showing you I deleted it. Don't ever grab something like that again, okay?
Well, I was going back to the car. I was like fighting back tears. I was like, he's deleting stuff.
Yeah. You heard that on your mic, man.
Yeah,
you heard that. I think
I've never been that close to crying during a catch.
Oh, dude, it's heartbreaking, bro. He's just still reading it in front of me. Like, literally, when he showed me that guy's username on Telegram, like, you know how you can see some of the videos, like, on Instagram, when some of this shit was showing the fact they're not even taking this shit seriously enough to just fucking come out, man. This guy's molested, like, so many fucking kids, dude. It's just, like...
I think there was another moment during Dominic Barbagallo's sting where you were in the car and your character dropped again, and you said, what's his name? And you said, don't treat him like he's a piece of meat.
What's his name? Don't look at him as a piece of meat. He at least has a name.
I think that was another moment. It shows that you aren't doing... A lot of people say, oh, he's just doing this for the views and for the money. And like, well, I don't think you make that much.
Money. That's part of it, but not the only reason, guys. Come on.
Well, look, here, you do this job, just like police or FBI or any other kind of team that's supposed to do their job, and you do your job, and it's nice to be reimbursed for the time that you put in it, if there's a way to do so. You're not Batman. You're not Bruce Wayne with billions. You know? So if you get the views and people see it and they like the content because it's supporting what you do, I don't see a problem with you getting paid off of that. You're not profiting off of, these things that are happening. These things would happen even more so if you didn't do what you did.
Oh, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And
So-
I have a little industry secret here for the audience. Insider information here from YouTubers. Everybody that posts the video publicly wants it to get viewed. So when you hear your favorite reaction channel say, "Oh, this creator does it for the views," they're making that video for the views as well. Don't be deceived by that. But I will say, as a response to people that are like, "Oh, you only care about the money, you only care about the views," we do care about that, but that doesn't come first. I can assure you. There's tons of videos that we have. I'll point to a video we did in Vermont, in Cabot, Vermont. I'll point to another video we did in Bossier City, Louisiana. I don't think the guy in Vermont got arrested yet, if ever. But the guy in Bossier City, Louisiana, he had 32 counts of child pornography, $1 million bond, and his broke ass is still in jail. Nobody's paying the $100,000 to get him out. You can barely see the Predator in those videos because I told those camera guys, "Hey man, I care about this confession." Both were very long interviews. The one in Vermont was 3 hours long. You can't see the Predator one time. The one in Bossier City was like an hour and some change. Pretty long, not the longest. But we've sacrificed camera angles. We've sacrificed great content in order to get confessions because that's what we care about first. If we get paid for it, absolutely, I will not turn down money. But that does not come before getting convictions. That does not come before getting confessions. We show up to court anytime, anywhere, on my own dime if I have to. I don't ask for any money to go to court or anything like that. And the amount of detectives that we've come across that are like on-call detectives that come out to our calls like at night or at an odd hour, the amount of that have told me, "Oh, I don't mind being out here. I'm getting overtime pay right now." Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I've seen actually detectives arriving and they're almost fans of you. They know who you are when they get there, and they're almost like fans of you. Like, I subscribe to your channel.
That's happened a few times. If
that detective is subscribed to your channel, he obviously appreciates what you're doing. So when he gets out there, he goes, "Happy days."
That is the thinking of a lot of them because they have a clear-cut confession, all these chat logs. All the detective has to do at that point is just slap the cuffs on. That's a great feeling for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, Alex, let's talk about Donald Letcher a little more in depth. Can you walk me through how your decoy met this guy and how long they'd been talking?
Well, this guy was not anybody special when it came to how he was found or how he found us. He just hit us up on Facebook, said a greeting. A little bit later, we told him our age. He was predictably okay with the age. And the whole gist of his conversation was just nudes. He's like, "We'll keep the conversation clean." And then he's like, starts asking for nudes. A lot of predators do this. They do this push-pull thing where it's like, "I shouldn't be doing this," or "Let's just keep it clean," or "I don't want to get you in." That's another line they always drop. "I don't want to get you in trouble." Like they always project their insecurities onto the kid. It's like basically it's a subconscious way of saying, if anybody knows, you're the one that gets in trouble rather than them. And they know damn well it's them that gets in trouble. There's some things they say that really bother. I mean, it all bothers me, but there's some things like that really just makes me want to approach them nicely and get a really good confession out of them, if you know what I mean. So,
so Donald Letcher actually messaged the decoy first. How does he find this decoy? Was this on Facebook, you said?
On Facebook. So it's kind of either we can friend them or they can friend us because we have random suggestions. And the Facebook algorithm, it's really, it doesn't end up being good because it adds a lot of kids with adults, but it's really accurate. I guess that's the word. So for some reason, it can detect that we're looking for people into kids. So every profile that gets recommended, coincidentally, has a ton of underage friends, is always into little kids, and they're looking for us. So our profile pops up to them because to Facebook, we're a little girl. It's not like they know what we're doing here. And we get recommended to them. So either he friended us or we friended him. I don't really know. But they always message first. And it just went like a lot of other conversations go. But he was one of the ones that didn't want to really meet up and have sex, at least not at that point in the conversation. And I'm sure if we actually sent him nudes or if he acquired nudes, that could always change. But there's always that kind of thing in the back of their head, like, if I'm not getting what I asked for, something could be amiss here. So that could have been going on with him, but we definitely felt that there was enough that he would probably be having child porn. And yeah.
And well, here's the thing too. I mean, with his previous conviction that was overturned, by the way, and is still listed on a website celebrating people who've been exonerated, there's a 30-year span there.
Yeah.
What the hell happened within those 30 years? We don't know. I'll tell you
Oh,
one thing that's good.
yeah.
He doesn't have any kids. That's a damn good thing.
Dude, exactly. Like, yeah, there's no way he was dormant, because in the interview, he's like, man, this has been going on for 2 years. And, you know, a lot of people that watch are like, oh my God, they say so much on camera. There's no honest pedo. Maybe one or two have been honest, but there's no honest pedo. There's only ones that incriminate themselves. And similar to the rest, he incriminated himself, but he's definitely not honest. Like, he didn't bring up what happened in 1996 or anything like that. So who knows? I mean, he was probably on the dark web in like 2005 looking for more kids and all that. I mean, the dude's a menace to society, and I'm glad that God's holding him accountable now.
Well, look, and this is only a not even a theory, but only a suggestive thought sequence that I have, and I just wonder if when he ran over the 6-year-old, was he drunk? And he's definitely drunk, but was this some kind of drunken vengeance for what he thought happened to him in 1995?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a weird coincidence that it was a 6-year-old girl, for sure.
Some private property. This little girl's playing with a kitten, and he just pulls in and plows her over and drives on. Thank God a witness followed him to his house. Look, we don't know what his intentions there were, if there were any at all. But I'll tell you what it was intended. Him fleeing the scene after hitting the kid. That was intended.
I mean, this is probably a girl that he's been looking at playing in her driveway for who knows how long. And then he's drunk, goes into her driveway. I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm not just hypothesizing here, or whatever. I don't know. I think it's definitely a girl that he could have been just kind of looking at.
It's the hate that you got from people after this happened. It was as if you took a gun and executed him yourself. Are you ever shocked by people who will defend guys like Donald anymore?
He voluntarily confessed all this information to us. At that point, the cop was there, and he should be in control of the scene. Our job is done at that point, besides just turning in evidence. But yeah, the pedo defenders still shock me, because the pedos, there's nothing they could say or do at this point that's going to make me like be surprised, because you already have the lowest expectations for the pedos, but there's always just that hope in your mind, like, all right, well, maybe the people around them, or the people that just know about, maybe they'll just come to the realization that these people are just scumbags and deserve whatever happens to them. But no, that still continues to shock me. I'd say the pedo defenders.
Yeah, this one particularly was just insane to me. Now, I've personally seen you recently jumping up and down to try and get one of the men that were accused to remove a knife from his throat, because he was threatening to take his own life. I saw you specifically in front of police jumping up and down. No, man, please don't do it. I mean, that must take a piece of your heart there, having to do that for a guy like this, you know? But yeah, there's by no means did you push this guy or bully this guy in to what he did. This is what I hypothesize. I think, and this is my opinion only, I think that he realized some other stuff was going to be questioned, like that old conviction. I think he thought that stuff's going to be brought up. They're going to find what's on my devices, and there's the best way out of this is at my own hands. And so he did what he did. I think that's quite simple. I mean, because we are already questioning, and a lot's not going to get questioned because there's no trial, there's no conviction that will go forward. So a lot won't get questioned because, you know, a lot of it's just going to be dropped and buried. I mean, do you think the cops are going to announce that, well, after he died, he had X amount on his phone and X amount on his devices? Or do you think, I wonder as well, because there was such a long delay in between the time you heard the gunshots and he went in the house, I wonder, did he go in and try and delete as much as he could?
My initial reaction was that he was going to be deleting stuff. I thought that's what he was going to do it for. But I don't know. I actually don't think that he was deleting, because, you know, as soon as he went to the house, I jumped on Telegram to see, all right, is this going to go online and start deleting stuff on there? He never went back on Telegram. My guess is that he was just sitting in there contemplating it, just thinking of everything, like, is there a way out of this? And just said, screw it, I'm going to do it. But as for, are the cops going to announce after? I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty new situation for us. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy situation. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's not something you've ever had to go through. I believe Chris Hansen's dealt with something like this, and he faced the backlash. But I just can't understand it. There are people that are tweeting out to you that it doesn't matter. He's still a human. And it's like, well, I guess everybody's entitled to an opinion. Alex, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about that catcher? Anything else you'd like to inform the audience about?
You know, y'all's first video that y'all have watched from MrBlack, on David Dunn, or pertaining to us, David Dunn. He's going to get sentenced in August. I hope Virginia throws the hammer down. Virginia is typically very good about throwing the hammer down, actually. We got some pretty good sentences there. Couple of 30 moms. So I hope they throw the hammer down on him in August. I'm sure one of us will update you guys when that happens. But he's already pled guilty. It's going to happen. It's just we don't know how long it's going to happen for. As for Dominic Barbagallo, he's currently bonded out. He's not had a trial yet or anything like that. I don't know. Well, I guess he hasn't pled guilty. He's currently out right now. So we'll let y'all know on that, but I see him getting convicted. There's no way to get around child porn for sure, especially with that type of confession on camera. And yeah, we got some cool stuff coming up. So yeah, stay tuned.
Yep, and to my knowledge, David Dunn's sentencing should be, I think, on the 15th of August. I wish it was televised. Alex, it's a pleasure to finally meet you and work with you again. Look forward to sharing your story and what you've went through with this, because, look, no matter what way you swing it, you were involved in a situation that saw a guy take his own life. Make sure you look after your mental health.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Sometimes bad people don't run into decoys online. They find our children. It's up to us as their guardians to do everything we can to make sure they're safe. There are a number of apps you can download online that allow you to monitor your child's activity remotely from your own device. This is a must-have for all parents. TechRadar has actually put together a list of the best child protection apps for parents out there, and they break down the pros and cons of each. I'll put the links down below. Listen, don't let the sunset go down tonight without downloading one of these. Our kids are our future, and we must protect them at all cost. A giant thank you to my guest, Alex Rosen and the Predator Poachers. Be sure to check out their Rumble channel at the link you see on your screen right now and in the description down below. As always, I'm Mr. Black, and this is Recently Criminal. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and as always, here's a list of important numbers you might need to know right now. Don't hesitate to use them.